Kristen from Anime Collective. We are joined today by my little one, Mikazuki. He wanted to be on the video with me today. And today we're going to be going over all of the Ghost in the Shell manga editions. Let's get into it. When I think of cyberpunk manga, one of the first series that comes to mind in addition to Akira and Alita is The Ghost in the Shell by Masamune Shirow. It's a classic that's just as amazing today as it was when it first released in 1989. It's a staple series, especially if you're a massive sci-fi fan like I am, but what's the best way to collect it? So currently there are 5 different ways you can collect the Ghost in the Shell with English translation. Dark Horse released a trade paperback of Ghost in the Shell. They also teamed up with Studio Proteus to release comic book issues of the series. Kodansha now has the license, and they printed a paperback release of the series, a deluxe edition, which also can be collected in a complete box set, as well as a recently released Ghost in the Shell fully compiled edition. The Kodansha editions are still being published, while the Dark Horse releases are out of print. The Ghost in the Shell is split into 3 parts: the Ghost in the Shell, Man-Machine Interface, and Human Error Processor. Dark Horse released 3 trade paperbacks of the series, as well as a 27 comic book issue series, 8 for the Ghost in the Shell, 11 for Man-Machine Interface, and 8 for Human Error Processor. The Kodansha Deluxe Edition hardcovers, as well as the paperbacks, collect the series in 3 volumes. In addition to buying them individually, you can also collect the deluxe editions in a complete box set. The most recent edition to release is the fully compiled edition, which collects the entire series in 1 hardcover. I'm going to show you guys how the Kodansha editions vary firsthand so you can see the imprint editions side by side. Let's kick things off with size. The Kodansha paperbacks are 7.1 by 10.1 by 0.8, while the hardcover deluxe editions are 7.1 by 10.1 by 1 inches. The fully compiled is 7.1 by 10.2 by 1.9 inches, so it is only slightly larger in terms of its height. They are all the same width, but since it collects all volumes in 1 edition, the fully compiled is 0.8 inches larger in depth than the other 2 editions. As far as shelf space goes, the fully compiled edition takes up the least space on the shelf. Given that the hardcover deluxe editions can be purchased in a complete box set, you can display these elsewhere and keep them stored in their box though, so they are a great option if you are short on shelf space. While I don't have the trade paperback released from Dark Horse, I do know from their website that their volumes are 6 by 9 inches, so they are the smallest edition all around. Price-wise, with the Dark Horse releases being out of print, they vary in terms of price. The trade paperbacks could run you anywhere from $10 to $30 each, depending on the listing, while the comic book issues vary depending on the set, with the first 8 being the most expensive to collect. I've seen the first issue alone go for around $60 to $80 depending on the condition. The Kodansha releases, on the other hand, are still in print while supplies last. The 3 paperbacks at retail would cost you $71.97, while the deluxe edition hardcovers at retail would cost you around $80 to collect individually, or $79.97 when you collect them via the complete box set. The fully compiled retails for $54.99. Taking that all into consideration, the cheapest way to collect the series is the fully compiled edition, which saves you around $17 to $25 in comparison to other releases. As far as their design goes, the fully compiled edition features new cover art by Shiro Masamune. It was actually created specifically for this edition, and it's absolutely beautiful. This edition has my favorite cover art, and this is one of the main reasons why I decided to pick it up. The spine design is somewhat similar to what is seen on the deluxe editions with their gunmetal color and details. The deluxe editions, on the other hand, have 3 hardcovers that feature different cover art, the same that's featured on the original Japanese volumes. One big difference in design between the paperbacks and the hardcovers is their spine, which is red and black versus the gray colors that are featured on the other editions. The paperbacks and deluxe editions mirror the look of the original Japanese volumes, featuring the full cover art. In comparison to the paperbacks, though, the colors are punchier and more accurate on the covers of the deluxe editions. The covers of the paperbacks have a shiny, glossy appearance, while the deluxe editions and fully compiled are mostly matte with glossy details here and there. The box set, which collects the deluxe editions, is minimal in design. We have the artwork from Volume 1 of Major Motoko Kusanagi on the front, as well as the back of the box set, front and center in this circle, with an all-over graphic of panels from the manga. They're stylized in a way that makes them look like negatives from a camera roll. The box set has a matte finish aside from the glossy details like the artwork and logo, with one side featuring the logo and the other side which is open to showcase all of the spines of the deluxe editions. What about page and print quality? All of Kodansha's editions are printed on white matte paper, but the paper thickness varies. I was really surprised to see that the paperbacks are printed on the highest quality paper. While I expected the fully compiled to have the thinnest paper given that it's an all-in-one, I didn't expect the paperbacks to be printed on thicker paper than the deluxe editions, but they are. The edition's pages vary in terms of see-throughness too, with the fully compiled having the most bleed-through and the paperbacks having the least. The pages are definitely more thin in the all-in-one given that they collect the whole series in one edition. This is part of the reason, aside from having one hardcover instead of three, that allow them to have more space savings on the shelf. The pages are so thin actually in the fully compiled that they stick together when reading from time to time. While the print quality didn't necessarily suffer as a result, the pages are thin, causing those aforementioned bleed-through issues, which are much more prominent than the other editions. That said, the deluxe editions and paperbacks feature better paper quality, less bleed-through issues, and I didn't have any issues with pages sticking together while reading them, like I did with the fully compiled. As far as print quality goes, the Ghost in the Shell features mostly black and white pages, but there are quite a few color pages sprinkled throughout each edition. A lot more than you'd see in other series. While the color pages appear more vibrant in the paperbacks at first in some panels, the details get lost a bit and the printing is a bit too dark in some panels. How I feel varies depending on the panel though. You see a wider range of colors in the hardcovers, whereas the paperbacks, which have nice saturation, sometimes lack in contrast. In the paperbacks too, some of the panels appear to be too light, which results in a loss of detail in some panels, so the printing is crisper in both hardcover editions. But then I see sections like this where the color panels in the paperbacks look better than the hardcovers, and I find myself confused on which I prefer. Taking that all into consideration, the deluxe editions and fully compiled have more detail, are crisper, and have better contrast in midtones, but the colors in the paperbacks appear to be brighter and more saturated in select areas from time to time. But keep in mind that the quality is inconsistent as shown in the areas that are either too light or too dark, so the hardcovers are more consistent in their print quality, and the black and white pages look the best in the hardcovers too. It's all going to come down to your preference here, and your decision, like me, will likely depend on other factors. When comparing the deluxe and fully compiled, I didn't notice a difference in terms of print quality, but the pages in the deluxe editions are a little thicker, which may be a deciding factor for some. And then we have the quality of the editions themselves. With the deluxe editions and fully compiled being hardcover, they are made of higher quality. The paperbacks aren't as sturdy or as high quality as the other two, and they have a glued binding, while the hardcovers have a sewn binding, so they are higher quality in that regard as well. The hardcovers will definitely hold up better than the paperbacks over time, especially given the size of the volumes, so this is something to keep in mind. What about readability? I didn't notice any issues with readability when reading any of the editions of the Ghost in the Shell back to back, so they all have good readability, even the fully compiled edition, which is the largest edition of the bunch. They are all comfortable and easy to read. Of course, the fully compiled is the largest edition given that it collects the whole series in one, but it is really lightweight despite this. The edition reads well, and I didn't notice any major issues with gutter loss, so it's a great choice if you're looking to buy an all-in-one edition. I actually noticed the least gutter loss issues in the all-in-one edition, with the paperbacks having the most gutter loss due to their glued binding. Let's take a look at the translations, sound effects, and lettering next. The deluxe edition hardcovers and fully compiled edition released from Kodansha are the only versions with the original Japanese sound effects. One difference is how they included the translation notes, though. In the deluxe editions, they did not include translations directly on the page, but instead added an SFX guide in the back of the volumes. In the fully compiled, however, they added the English translations above or next to the original hand-drawn sound effects. Both hardcover editions are also the only editions that read in the original right-to-left format. The other editions, the paperbacks, were flipped and read left to right, and the sound effects were all redrawn in English as well. They also updated the translation in the hardcover releases, and there were some text bubbles that were left out of the paperback release as seen here that were later re-included in the hardcovers. The lettering was also updated in the hardcover editions, and the formatting of the text is much better in these two releases in comparison to the paperbacks. The sentences flow better as a result of the formatting, and they made optimizations that enhance the readability of the series. The deluxe editions and the fully compiled definitely have the best translation. I really appreciate that they read in the original reading format and that they have the original hand-drawn sound effects too. If you're someone who likes to have the English translations alongside the original Japanese sound effects on the page, though, you'll want to check out the fully compiled edition. Censorship is something I want to talk about real quick, too. The Dark Horse 2nd edition paperback release from 2004 is the edition that seems to be the most uncensored. Dark Horse's other releases are censored, specifically sexual content. One scene in particular in The Ghost in the Shell was removed. Kodansha, who now has the license, has removed the same scene in all editions, including their paperback, deluxe edition, and fully compiled releases. While I always like to have the most true to the original form of a manga, it doesn't bother me personally as much that it was taken out because I believe it was the creator's decision to do so. The Ghost in the Shell is a series with mature topics and themes, so I'm surprised it was censored, but it doesn't affect the story, so for me, it's not a deal breaker at all. If you're looking for the uncensored version, though, you may want to check out the Dark Horse 2nd edition trade paperback from 2004. And finally, what about extras? As far as extras go, the complete box set comes with a lithograph. I purchased mine at Half Price Books and my set was missing it, so unfortunately I can't show you guys what it looks like in hand, but here's a quick image of what it looks like. They all come with the author notes, but the way in which they are displayed are different. In the hardcover editions, they are displayed at the bottom of the pages as references, but they are featured at the end of the volume in the paperback edition. Alright, now that we've gone over everything, what's the best way to collect the Ghost in the Shell? As always, it definitely depends. Looking for the cheapest way to collect the series, the fully compiled edition. Looking for the edition with the best translation, best lettering and formatting, or want an edition that has the original hand-drawn sound effects, either the deluxe editions or the fully compiled edition. The sound effects aren't translated in the deluxe editions though, they have a sound effects reference guide in the back, while the fully compiled has translations noted directly on the page alongside the original Japanese sound effects. Want an uncensored version? The Dark Horse 2nd edition trade paperback. The highest edition quality, the deluxe editions, which are also collected in the complete box set, or the fully compiled. Now, if you're looking for the best print quality though, this is where things get tricky for me because all editions have their positives and negatives here. The color pages are a bit more saturated in the paperbacks, but the hardcover editions are crisper and more consistent in their print quality, and the black and white pages are higher quality as well. We have some issues with contrast and loss of detail in the paperbacks. Want to save some space on the shelf? The fully compiled edition, but also the complete box set because it can be displayed in its box off the shelf if needed. Best design, this of course is completely subjective. I personally like the new artwork and the design of the fully compiled the best, but the deluxe editions look great too. Personally, I like both the fully compiled and the complete box set, which collects the hardcover deluxe editions the best. I like both of their designs for completely different reasons, and I prefer the hardcover format and really enjoy the fact that they have a sewn binding. They also read in the original reading format and kept the original hand-drawn sound effects. The fully compiled is a more cost-effective way to collect the series, and it has a beautiful cover, but the deluxe editions have better paper quality, so it all depends on what you're looking for. What about you guys? What's your favorite edition? Let me know. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.